What a song. Trying to find the freaking thing I gotta take a picture of. Where are you going? I'm about to reboot this mission. I'm about to abort this mission and restart it again. Yeah, sure. No, I feel like it's gonna be something very similar to like I keep forgetting the name of the comic book, but it was a comic book, and it was like where MJ had finally made gave Peter an ultimatum, the ultimatum: either you be Spider-Man, either you keep being Spider-Man, and I take the kids and divorce you and leave, or you stop being Spider-Man and spend time with me and your son. Which in that comic book, Peter decided to do one last Spider-Man thing because he did not want to lose his family and the life that he's been wanting to build for a while over being Spider-Man. So I guess they were basically like upgraded spider hunters, basically. And but only difference is like they were hunting Peter. So um he wind up taking out these people, but a few of them actually wind up killing Mary Jane and stuff. Right? So she actually died from what the comic book was showing. But later on, so Peter had to retire to finally take care of his son because he was the only parent there. But um, he still was being Spider-Man, so his son felt very neglected and was like super pissy at him. So his son wind up having powers too, and instead of the spider slayers or like spider hunters going after Peter, they went after his son because he has powers. Until one of these spider slayers turned out to be Mary Jane, and it turns out Mary Jane died, but the people kept her alive. And so Peter had to come out of retirement to save his son, but because he hadn't done it for so long, he was very rusty. His spider sense were like a really rusty and everything. But he wind up saving his son, and then he also wind up saving MJ and bringing MJ back to her normal human form. And then he pretty much told his son the same thing that Uncle Ben told him, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. And he sacrificed himself to save his son and MJ and died on the spot. So what I honestly think is I think we're going to get something very similar to that, to where Marvel Spider-Man 3 is going to be probably set, like if this game was set 3 years and 10 months after the Miles game, I'll say the third game is probably going to be like 4 or 5 months, 4 years and probably like 12 months after the second game. And if that's the case, at that point, Peter would be married to MJ and probably have a kid and everything. So what I think they might wind up doing, okay, that was cool. Wind up doing is that they're gonna go the whole route of Norman Osborn's trying to get the Goblin Green Serum from Harry, but the Goblin Green Serum don't work, and Harry quote unquote winds up dying. I say quote unquote because you'll understand, but the Goblin Green Serum doesn't work. The doctors pretty much tell him like your son's dead. We're sorry. And this causes a big shift in Norman now to the point where he completely utterly hates Spider-Man to where he wants to kill him. And because Otto knows who Spider-Man is, Otto winds up telling Norman Osborn that the identity of Spider-Man is that of your friend's or your son's close friend, Peter Benjamin Parker. Which Norman now finding out that Peter Spider-Man would have a lot of animosity and stuff towards Peter because he feels like Peter, after he just told him, like, you're a good friend, you're the son I've always wanted, he's gonna feel super betrayed. So he winds up taking the Goblin Green Serum himself, and it winds up being a success for him due to the hate and everything that he has towards Peter. And then obviously we'll have Carnage in this game. So Miles being the new official Spider-Man since Peter's been in retirement has been facing a lot of challenges, such as he's gone up against Carnage now, and somehow a piece of the Carnage symbiote has gone onto him, but it hasn't fully taken over him yet. And then he's gone up against more newer people. He had to stop Chameleon and all this, and these villains that he's fought, they just keep coming back and coming back. But his biggest challenge is when Green Goblin winds up popping out of nowhere and starting to try to harm civilians to where Miles has to fight him. And Miles not realizing how strong Goblin is, Goblin winds up getting the upper hand on him. But Goblin doesn't kill him. He just lets him know that you're not the Spider-Man I'm looking for. And so Miles runs into Otto, since Otto has wind up finding a way to escape prison or the raft. And now Miles has gone on to fight Otto, which Otto doesn't even really care about the new Spider-Man. He just cares about Peter Parker. And so Miles winds up beating Otto Octavius, which Otto tells him, I don't got time for this. This is only phase one of my plan. Plan to what? You'll see soon enough. And so Peter getting knowledge that Otto and there's a new guy on the loose calling himself the Green Goblin. He winds up feeling like this is a job for Miles because I don't really need to come out of retirement. But he gives Miles a word of advice on how to deal with Otto and to end the job quickly to put him back behind bars. But everything changes once you get to like the close middle of the game to where we kind of find out that Peter Parker and MJ during the whole time skip had a kid, and this kid turned out to be around like the age of like 12 to 13. And we find out that this kid is called Mayday Parker. They named her Mayday. And so everything changes for Peter the moment that MJ doesn't start picking up her calls. And then we come to find out that MJ has been kidnapped by the Green Goblin. Peter finds this out on the news, to where the news tells the citizens of New York that Mary Jane Watson has been kidnapped by the person known as a villain known as the Green Goblin and recent escape convict Otto Octavius. And they left a message that states, bring us Spider-Man or the girl dies. So Peter calling up Miles, Miles already tells Peter he's on the way there to go get her, and he's gonna need some help to take these guys on. Which Peter winds up going to his apartment, the house that he lives in, which is Aunt May's house, and because so many years has passed, Peter wind up turning his own room into a laboratory, but behind the closet was a keypad. And he enters this code, which is Mayday's birthday, to reveal the Advanced Suit 3.0, but it's in the style of the Mark MK4 armor. And so Peter tells Mayday, like, Daddy's gotta go take care of some business. Mayday's pretty much just stays in the house to just stay there and be safe. And Peter goes off to help Miles. Once you reach the fight, like the final moment of that scene, Peter comes out to utter shock because there's this new villain that they never seen before, but also he gets PTSD flashbacks because there's these symbiotes around the city again, but only this time they're a little more aggressive, they're stronger, and he sees this guy with white hair and a symbiote on his chest, which turns out to be Null. And you just get this quick, cool moment of Miles and Peter showing up to the final fight to where it only shows two people, which is Otto and Norman, which Miles and Peter are able to take care of. But once you beat them, you get a cutscene to where Carnage shows up. And after Carnage shows up, you see that Noel shows up, and Noel uses his abilities to turn the people that he that have been killed by Kraven to revive them and turn them into zombie symbiotes, pretty much. So he revives Rhino, he revives Vulture, Electro, Shocker. So Noah infects these people and these villains, and then he infects the rest of the civilians to where you have this whole second infestation of symbiotes invasion. And later on, because it's only two of them, you get to see that there is another Spire person, which this Spire person winds up being Cindy Moonsilk, shows up as we find out that Miles has been mentoring Cindy Moon on how to use her Spire powers. She decides to show up to the fight, but it's still not enough because you have Null, Carnage, and Goblin going up against three people, along with the villains that have died that Peter fought. It's not enough for only three people to go up against that many. And so there's one more person that shows up, which is Agent Venom, or New Agent Venom, which turns out to be Harry. And we find out that not only when Peter used the anti-Venom symbiote powers to heal Harry and get the symbiote off of him, but it also gave Harry some of its power. So some of that anti-Venom symbiote power was inside of Harry, and the reason the Goblin Serum didn't work on Harry was because the anti-symbiote was blocking it out. Because the anti-symbiote, anti-Venom suit was, or the power of it was actually healing Harry through the whole entire time he's been in that coma. And so now it's Harry, Miles, Cindy Moon, and Peter all going up against these villains, and just for shits and giggles, Rafe winds up showing up to the fight to support her old friend. And so now you get this big endgame type moment to where all these heroes are going up against each of these villains, along while the city in the background is burning to pieces. And Miles winds up beating Otto and Rhino. Harry winds up beating whoever he was fighting. Rafe winds up beating the people that they were fighting. Once you beat all of them, you then get into this cutscene to where Goblin goes up to tell Peter, if you want the girl, follow me, to where Peter has to go save MJ. So after he winds up doing that, Peter winds up going to get MJ. Miles gets the sneak attack on Goblin and knocks him off the glider. MJ falls. Peter winds up trying to save her, but just to reference No Way Home, Goblin calls in his glider to stop Peter from saving her, and MJ starts to fall, not knowing if she's gonna die or not. Harry winds up being the one to sit there and swoop in and save MJ and put her to safety, to where now Peter is really mad because this guy just tried to kill his wife. And so he winds up fighting Goblin, and there's three stages to it. Stage 1 on the glider, stage 2 on the ground, and stage 3 is where you would get this cutscene of Peter's suit all being damaged and Norman going on to tell him, I know your secret, Peter Parker, and then Norman would reveal his mask, showing that he was Norman Osborn. And because Carnage was defeated so early, but the Carnage symbiote never was destroyed, but actually got off of Kalista's Cassidy, Norman wound up having an extra part of the Goblin Serum in his armor, and he winds up injecting himself with it, but the Carnage symbiote winds up jumping onto Norman as he injects himself into it, and Norman hasn't just increased his strength, but he winds up turning into Ultimate Red Goblin with flames, horns, and all this shit. And now this is where the third and final fight begins, which the mission would be titled The Last Stand. And Peter winds up has to fight Norman Osborn as Ultimate Red Goblin. So now you gotta use the bells, you gotta use the flames that are near him. You have to use all the stuff that you've learned for the last previous games in order to beat Ultimate Red Goblin. But once you wind up being Ultimate Red Goblin, it's going to give you a moment of similar to how like that one mission for Miles did, where you have to choose, do you do this or do you do that? And Peter winds up choosing to destroy or use all the brute strength that he had left to defeat Norman once and for all. But in doing so, because Norman wind up stabbing him with his goblin claws through the chest, and Peter wind up destroying Green Goblin for good and killing him, both of them wind up dying, but Peter still has a little bit of life left in him to say goodbye to Miles and MJ, Rafe, and everybody that he's ever known. So where MJ, Miles go out to Peter, including Harry, the ones that were closest to him, they all try to do the best that they can to keep Peter alive, which they give Peter the line of saying, that's it, that's all I had, I got nothing left. And you can remix the whole entire line of saying, well, I couldn't save him, I couldn't save Uncle Ben. Instead of Peter saying I couldn't save Uncle Ben, he goes on to tell Miles, Harry, and Rafe, because Rafe was there and she finally gets to see who Spider-Man really was. And Peter goes on to tell him, I couldn't save her, Aunt May, I couldn't save her no matter what I did, but I saved you guys. And MJ protect Mayday, Miles protect Mayday for me. And Peter will wind up dying on the spot, which now causes Miles and Harry and everybody else to be the new protectors of New York, which Miles would wind up turning out to be the protector of Manhattan. Silk will wind up being the protector of Chinatown. Harry would wind up going to Brooklyn to be the protector of that. And Rafe would wind up being the, like, auntie to Mayday Parker and MJ, now knowing who Peter Parker really was, but also helping out Miles along in Manhattan. and Queens. And the last part of the game, since they would probably give us a post-credit scene for something else, the post-credit scene would wind up being the whole entire thing of staying a few years later and showing that Norman Osborn, while he died, Otto Octavius figured, because Otto was never killed, but he was defeated. So because Otto figured that Norman would fail, but Peter Parker died, but he wants to get rid of all the Spider people, we would wind up getting a post-credit scene to where Otto's talking to somebody, but we don't know who it is. And he would go on to say that, well, Peter Parker is finally dead. Norman failed to finish the job along with the rest of the heroes. He was always foolish, but you won't fail, will you, King? And we would get the introduction to the fact that while Norman was doing all that, and while uh, Otto had his rematch with Peter, that little blood that he did have on the tentacles from the first game, he kept a sample of it and proceeded to use that blood to make a clone of Peter Parker, which this clone turned out to be Kane Parker and Ben Reilly, setting up the Clone Saga for a potential fourth game.
Moving on.
And I think they call them infected symbiotes. Yeah. Yeah, he would. Also, that's another thing. I feel like because the Spider-Verse was
That guy
part of this
kills so many
game,
people.
and we got like a tease of it. I feel like the Spider-Verse would wind up being like a main story plot in the third game to introduce like different Spider people, and perhaps maybe even show a universe to where Peter Parker died and came back. Yeah. Now, what would be really cool is if the Spider-Verse would be connected to the third game, but if they do, not if when they kill off Peter Parker or this Peter Parker in particular, I think it would be really cool that like perhaps maybe like a second post-credit scene after Arnold could be that same Spider-Verse would be Miles and MJ like just like talking to Mayday and everything, and Mayday like asking questions about like what was her dad like growing up, like all this stuff, like how was he as a hero, was he the best mentor, and all this stuff, and you would Miles' Spider Sense would go off, saying like something's wrong here, but Mayday's would wind up sensing it too, realizing that she has spider powers as well, and then would turn out that the portal that Peter and Miles saw in the second game for the Spider-Verse portal would appear in the apartment, and out of the portal is Josh Keaton's Spider-Man from at the time, aka Peter Parker. And he would be like, well, I don't know who you guys are, but I think I'm in the wrong universe, and I'm pretty sure I'm stuck here now. Damn. Yeah. Yep.
stop those cultists before they burn everything.
Beacon is here!
How about we bring the heat down? Whoa, symbiote's dropping in.
Yep.
These people kept the spider warm for us.
Hey, it's the Fun Brigade!
If he bleeds, take us down.
Big boy coming in with friends. Better put out the fires. Don't worry. I'll get you to an ambulance in no time. Oh my god. Thank you. We're close. You're doing great. And there we are. Pros will take it from here. You Spider-Man!
Right. Yep. Earth 1016. Yeah, yeah, Drake Bell. Web Warriors. They brought in Web Warriors, Sinister Six. Then they brought in the new Sinister Six, the Kane Spider clone arc, Agent Venom. Like they did a lot of stuff there. Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, the current symbiote. Huh? You older than me. I'm only 24. Yeah. Damn, I feel like a baby. Yeah, Spider-Man the anime series, the '90s series, as people call it. Disney Plus. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I remember Spider-Man Unlimited. I remember Spider-Man Unlimited because of that theme. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Right.
We can't let killer robots just roam the streets. Spider-Man! Head enforcement here. You're in violation of several ordinances. Note to self. Stay away from toys and clowns. Why can't anyone nice ever be looking for me?
Is his eyes actually damaged? Is that on every suit? Oh god, he's a square. Seriously. 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 Why is he a fucking square? My boy's a square, man. My boy really out here being a square. Oh my god. Okay, so with certain suits, his islands actually breaks or has scratches on it. That's pretty cool. pretty cool though. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, we back. Alright, we're back stream. Speaking of stream, let me go on my TikTok. Dang, I thought my boy was live for a second. Alright, we're going live again. Uh, you awake? Ah, my leg. It jumped on my leg, honey. Sorry, baby. I'm fine, baby. Do you feel pregnant? What's up, Lori? Hey, my boy Millie. Millie, get in here, bruh. Get in here, damn. Millie, if you don't get your ass in this damn live, B, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna have to beat your ass if you don't get in this live, B. I was finna say, Millie, if you don't get your ass in this live, we gonna have problems. I'm gonna have to do you like Miles did to Peter. Hey, Lori. I was just gonna say, Millie, if you don't get in here, bro, I'm gonna have to do you how Miles did Peter in the game, bro. I was like, you know what? If this man don't get in here,
Miles!
what up?
Hope you don't mind this, man.
Ah, yeah.
Like, just, where's this?
But yes, for the ones that are confused, that are gonna be joining, I know what y'all gonna say in the comment section. Miles, Spider-Man 2 hasn't been out for at least a week now. You already talking about a third game? Man, it's too soon. You need to calm down. Listen. It's not my fault, alright? It's Brian Interhart's fault, okay? Because if I make my screen a little shorter, which I'm going to do so y'all can see without Detroit, so y'all can see here, Brian Interhart had a interview this past week, and he teased Marvel's Spider-Man 3.
I mean, duh, from that post-credit scene alone.
Right, and he said, this is what he said.
People were acting like we were not going to get a third game.
And this is what he said, which is why I'm on the line of, they already hinted it for like the last few games, from the first game to the Miles game to the second, of like Peter freaking possibly, like dying. Or like them killing off Peter Parker. And this quote from Brian Intard makes me believe it even more, which he says, I think if Spider-Man and Miles was our Iron Man, being the start of their universe, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 was like Civil War. Yeah, baby. It's right. It's out there. I don't somewhere, baby.
I don't see it being like...
But anyway, he says if Spider-Man 2 was like Civil War, where do we go from there? I think it could be pretty epic. Peter ain't gonna die in Spider-Man 3 because what if this is the final chapter for Norman? Mm-hmm.
I see it. Because Otto could have told Norman Peter's identity, but he didn't.
But that's the thing. Him saying it's the final chapter, or he was writing the final chapter, because clearly Norman went to Otto for help. Because he's like, well, damn, I might have to go to the one person that hates me to, like, get the information that I need. But also when Otto, our common enemy thing. So this can mean nothing. It don't mean nothing if this is from Brian Interhard, Detroit. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if because if he's saying like all this, and this is how he's referring to the games. After Civil War came Infinity War slash Endgame.
So we could get four Spider-Man games. Like Spider-Man 3 could be part 1, Spider-Man 4 could be part 2.
You
And
still want to go to
Spider-Man
sleep?
Lucky Miles.
You're thirsty. You want almond milk? Yeah. Until the game comes out, all rumors must be taken with a grain of salt. Detroit, I'm getting so sick of you saying that, bro. Especially when there's like evidence to point to it, bro. Like we did this before. We got into the Avengers from after the first game. Peter said, "What if we went back to this power?" He said, "Oh yeah, that's Avengers 7." They said they're going like they have to make off the rest of the camera and we're off the coast. So you're not even in New York. You were wrong about MJ being wrong. Detroit. Detroit. Hold on a minute. Detroit. Just because I was wrong about one thing, you know, 99% of the stuff that I made a video on came true, right? Harry being Andy Venom. Harry being find out how because something had to happen. I told him out to jail. Like I predicted pretty much the whole entire game. No, I'm the only one who really sat there and said MJ was gonna become free. Right, my friend Ace was like, she's gonna become she Venom. I was like, she don't become sweet. She became sweet. Like all of this happened because I've been over. Yeah, I was wrong about one thing, but I freaking speculated everything else. Like, what are we talking about? Bro, go on my bro, go on to my page, bro, and scroll to the videos that I posted before the game. Like, and I'm like, bro, it's funny how I'm the only one who's really sitting here who is seeing the foreshadowing on how many times they have hinted at this man Peter Parker might go on kill his kid. Like, yes, yes, I know where y'all gonna say come. Well, Peter dying in this game would only apply for if he gets killed. Yes, I understand that. But the fact that some yeah, Peter Parker, let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. Not just a possibility that you're saying you're playing. Actually, did this. Like, really did that. I would say yes.
like when Venom just literally turned around and was like, everyone, this is Peter Parker, this is Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what's gonna happen. Like, Otto is just gonna turn around, but like, because all the Venoms are connected, like right high. Cletus might just turn around and be like, yeah, guys, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, by the way. Like, and then he's just gonna get jumped. And also, I'm gonna make a video on this. People wants to steal the idea from me. But the Avengers need to be held accountable in this universe.
No, fact. Like, where the hell are the Avengers, man?
Like, bro, wait, what? Because the entire of New York City was turned into carnage, Venom,
And you mean tell me Iron Man ain't show up?
Avengers want to go back to DC. Black Cat actually stole a relic from the Sorcerer Suit.
No.
I agree with that.
Yeah, no.
I agree with that whole thing. Like, it kind of, because I agree with your logic, by the way, because there are two things that could happen, because if you got, I mean, we all kind of played Spider-Man 2 since the game came out, and it reminisced by the shadow.
Yeah, I did.
You know, it reminisced that logic and everything with it. But the one thing that caught me off guard was the fact that, and I'm gonna say this because this is the truth, this is how I felt about the video game, that Miles' costume, the one that he wears at the ending of it,
The Evolve suit. That suit is clean, by the way. Like, the moment they start putting that, it's on Amazon and everywhere else, I'm buying.
It looks like a DIY aspect. Like it looks like, well, it was a pretty clean suit, but I only have one gripe with it. I only have like one small gripe with the costume. What could have been better for me were the.
I don't know.
What's pretty much the hood, like the hoodie.
I mean, we have the house to ourselves, so
it's
kind of nice. You want to try? At least you're in a gamer. Yes. What was I gonna say? But also, I was like, no, because you know what I thought Peter was going to say when the whole symbiote thing started, and there's like that one mission where you're fighting like all the symbiotes when Miles tells Peter not to go and he goes anyway, and he's like almost getting killed. I thought they were going to have Jerry Lowenthal say that one line from the Ultimate Comics after Peter got shot, where he's like, okay, this is ridiculous. Where the hell are the X-Men? The Avengers!
Did you guys?
No, because dude, where are the Avengers? In the last 3 games, right? In the last 3 games, we've had the Sinister Six actually tear up New York, right? We had a potential for a global pandemic with them.
Yeah.
There was just a nuke sitting in Harlem. The Avengers weren't there, bro. Black Cat stole from Sorcerer Supreme. The Avengers weren't there, bro. The Avengers aren't there.
How did Black Cat steal from Doctor Strange? Because
I don't know. But you know what? Because they can kind of get away with this because in the first game, when you go past Avengers Towers and take a pic, Peter does mention like, oh yeah, that's Avengers Tower. But I don't think they're there anymore. Didn't they say they were having like a new base somewhere up south?
Yeah, they're going in San Francisco. That's their location.
The Avengers are Earth's mightiest heroes, not up south, bro. Half of them can fly.
They can. I like those. They're so stupid.
For spoilers for anybody who's playing the game in the comments, I'm just asking a quick question.
Shoot.
Do you guys know that the Fantastic Four bought the Kingpin's?
Yeah. Baxter Building.
That was dope to me. I cried because it kind of reminisced. Because I have Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1 through 22, and then I have like the 90s Spidey comics. And I actually have the black suit and the red suit with me, and it kind of feels like reading that part of it, like seeing that in the video game for Baxter Building, right? It'd be really cool if we see in the next video game, if we do see a Civil War.
Also, I gotta make a video on this, and I'm gonna send you the video that I'm gonna make a video on, L, so you can do your 2 cents on it. But it was a video, and it was like a slideshow, but it was like this one guy complaining about Marvel Spider-Man 2. Not saying that the story was bad, but he was complaining that, oh, Peter was nerfed through this whole entire game. He almost got packed up by Sandman, who he already beat.
You know he was.
My question is, I don't understand
And
why
I'm like,
like, if we remember in the first video game when Peter was like, oh, I beat all these supervillains,
mm-hmm.
and then in the second game of Miles, Peter loses to the supervillains, and then in the Spider-Man 2 game, he teams up with Miles and still loses. Like, he's acting like he lost all, like, knowledge. I don't know why Insomniac did that. I don't know why.
There's a simple reason too why he lost this fight to Sandman, and especially like the whole Carnage thing where he was like trapped under the rubble, and it goes back to one of the most dangerous things about Peter Parker's character that can be his own downfall, which is when Peter is in a tough spot, like him being trapped under that truck and looks like he's struggling to lift it. We know he can't lift it. He wasn't nerfed, but it's like Insomniac didn't nerf Peter. Peter nerfed himself because anytime he's in a tough spot, he lets his emotions get the better of him, and then he does not really believe in his own capability to where it seems like he's being completely nerfed. So, like, him fighting Sandman, right? Like, he was trying to figure out, like, why the hell is Sandman even out, and B, why is he doing all this? Because Sandman looked like he was, like, super distressed. The most he was trying to do was just trying to calm Sandman down. He wasn't really trying to fight. So when Sandman was getting the upper hand on him, now, mind you, he hasn't fought Sandman in years. So Sandman became a little more powerful, and yeah, he almost got packed up. But it's like, that's the only reason. Now, the only time he was not nerfed, and I can't stand when people say, well, he was, is when he was fighting Miles, because that man was bloodlusted.
That dude went berserk, and I lost my cool. I actually sweated really hard when I saw that. I'm like, this kind of feels like, because if you guys haven't noticed,
Why is there a cube? Why is he a cube?
they paid the homage
Oh
to
my god.
Spider-Man, Mark Bagley by Michael Bendis, with young Peter Parker.
I just ran into that glitch.
Because
I loved young Peter Parker's animation. I loved everything about